Yeah, so really warm welcome to this introduction to my 12-week Back to Sex program, which starts on the 27th of April. And so let me orient you a little bit first. Welcome, 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 Maxi. We're just starting. So just to orient you a little bit about tonight, so we've got time till 8:15. I'm also happy to stay on 15 minutes if anyone wants to chat one to one. In a moment, I'll invite you to do a little grounding, connecting with the body exercise. Then I'll speak a bit about Back to Sex in general and introduce the course. And then there will be a short exercise in it that you can take away. For that, you need, pen and paper, but that's in a little while. And then there will be time for a Q&A at the end. And my hope is you find this interesting and nourishing. And of course, I would love you to come on the course. So, all right. So I invite you to, settle in, make yourself comfy. And you can have camera on or off, totally your call. And you might have your eyes closed if that feels comfortable, or just have a soft gaze. And let's just take a few breaths, maybe a little deeper than usual, a little fuller. Just let yourself settle. Hmm. My next invitation is to put your hands somewhere on your body that feels comfortable, or at least neutral, maybe comforting. So it could be anywhere. It could be on your heart, your belly, your thighs, anywhere. And this is a way to support us in grounding. It's a way to resource ourselves. Maybe for a moment, feel into the connection between your hand and the body. Hmm. Yeah. And then notice this sense of gravity. So the direction down. We're not floating in space, we are supported. Feel that support. So maybe feel into your sit bones. Really, sit deeply. And if you have your feet on the ground, feel that connection between the soles of your feet and the earth. Your sense of the earth coming up to meet you as you meet the ground. And all the while, just taking some breath, arriving in the here and now. Hmm. And for a moment, turn your attention to your back. So if you're sitting and you can lean into something, I encourage you to really lean into for a moment. Feel that connection between your back and whatever you're leaning in, and that physical sense of support. Feel the breadth of your back and the length of it, and your spine as it snakes up from the very bottom, coccyx, to the nape of your neck. This beautiful, powerful column supports us and holds us. Just lean into this support for a moment. it speaks to you, you might even think of support that's there in your life. That's nature, pets, beloveds. Mm. And then feel what's moving in your body. And are there any areas of tension that might want a little attention from you? And if it speaks to you, maybe give yourself a minute to really give yourself something. So maybe it's a place of tension in your neck, shoulders. That's where mine often is. Maybe you need to shake something out, or maybe it's very quiet and you just want to hold yourself. The intention here is to really bring yourself in, gather yourself in from the day, letting be what has been today, letting yourself drop into the here and now. And this helps to, bringing in our physical self, beautiful body, out we should be doing nothing. Hmm, yeah. And then notice what emotions are present. Hmm. And do know that you're welcome, however you're feeling. All emotions are welcome here. And see whether you can give yourself permission to be here just as you are. Hmm. Yeah, beautiful. So then maybe there's a last stretch to do, or whatever feels good. And then slowly open your eyes again. Ah, you can keep your camera off. It would be lovely to see you. Um, it's up to you. Thank you. So, really warm welcome again. I hope that's supported you to, just be here, be present. So my name is Eva Weaver. I live in Saltine near Brighton in the UK. Use she pronouns. And my work is varied in two areas particularly. So I'm a writer and author. I write historic fiction and erotica, poetry. And I coach writing, particularly with my Writing from the Body program. And then I'm a sex coach and a sexological body worker and somatic sex educator. There's a lot of words around sex, but it's working with soma, with the body on sexuality. And so in my back to sex work, I support people, particularly women, non-binary and genderqueer folks, to connect back, to reclaim sense of sexuality and pleasure and connection, if that has been lost for whatever reason and for however long. And there's so many reasons why we might lose our connection to our sexuality. Sometimes that has to do with trauma, sexual trauma, boundary violations, but also might to do with pain or changes in our bodies or changes in our life, such as menopause might have to do with loss of libido for different reasons, or big life changes such as bereavement or loss of relationship. Or it could be we are finding ourselves in a relationship, a monogamous relationship that um, has, again, for whatever reason, lost access to sexuality. So many, many reasons why we might struggle with a connection to our sexuality. And so I meet folks where they're at, and we're exploring a way back, or for some people, for the first time, a connection to pleasure, to the body, and to sensuality, sexuality. So it's a big area, Eros. I feel so passionate about this work because of my own journey with sexuality. It's been a very complicated um, relationship that I've had. I do believe that sex is our birthright, and it is a powerful life force energy, maybe the most powerful energy. I always see it as this beautiful underground river that flows through our lives, and we get to tap into it. And sometimes we've lost the way how to tap into. So that's what this work is about. And so my story, I find my story in a lot of people I've been working with. Growing up, I experienced some trauma. For a long time in my life, I felt very disconnected from my body. You know, I lived pretty much in my head for a long time. And then also found myself in a string of monogamous, long term relationships that had real sexual issues and ended up being pretty much sexless. Um, but I always knew and I always felt that sex is really, really important to me. And so about 11 years ago, I set out on this journey to, yeah, really reclaim or claim sometimes for the first time um, my sexuality as my birthright. And finding a way to connect, firstly, more deeply with my body, and pleasure and sensuality and sexuality. And I did it in different ways. I worked with coaches and went on courses, and then eventually trained as a sexological body worker and somatic sex educator. And explored on the way things like conscious sexuality, conscious kink. Um, yeah, and that's been one of the most powerful and most transformative journeys of my life. And yeah, and then 7 years ago, I set up Back to Sex and have been, yeah, supporting people both in one-to-one coaching work and in sexological body work and in group work. I also have a background in art therapy. And as an art therapist, I always loved working in groups. In fact, always I've loved working in groups. And because I feel there's such magic and power when people come together and share their experiences. That's really relevant, particularly when it comes to sexuality or things like shame. You know, shame can't survive in a climate where we turn to it in a compassionate way and where we're held in a group container. So that's why I've been working with Back to Sex programs, and they usually been in person before the pandemic, and also shorter, usually about 6 weeks, and people loved them and found yeah, lots of things that worked for them. And people said, well, but we just scraped the tip of the iceberg. So now I set out to really create a program where we have spaciousness. We have 12 weeks together, and we're working in a small group of up to 10 people. So you'll have yeah, plenty of space, both to dive deep, as deep as you like, and also been held in this yummy group container. So let me, I would love to share with you about my program. And show you a few slides. Bear with me a moment. Yeah, and I call it Reclaim the Joy of Your Sexuality because, yeah, for me, that is my aim, to support people to get to that joyous part. So to reignite sexuality and overcome any obstacles that are in the way to pleasure and intimacy. So we're working with the whole umbrella. I wanted to share these, what I call the 5 pillars of back to sex: embodiment, education, pleasure, empowerment, and energy. And there are other aspects, but yeah, I'll share these. So, first of all, to say back to sex, it starts with you. So, you might have a partner or partners, and this work will be relevant in that way. But the focus in this program is really about our own connection to our own sexuality. And that's where we start. And we also start here, recovering a sense of hope, power, and safety. For me, in my journey, this has been really, really relevant because for a long time I have felt broken. I have felt there's something wrong with me. Sometimes I felt like a freak if I couldn't shift things. And so, to recover the sense of there is hope, and we have power to change things. And how this shifts is by creating a sense of safety. I'll speak a little bit more to that in a moment. Now, this program is also very much about connecting with our body because, everything we experience in life, we experience through our bodies. You might know the Mary Oliver quote, "Let the soft animal of your body love what it loves." So, yes, an aim of this work is for us to really connect in a compassionate and loving way with our bodies. The body is so many things. I put some here. The body is an archive, a sacred vessel, a temple, a portal, seat of pleasure and pain. Can be our home. I know sometimes the body doesn't feel like a home, but that's what it can be. And the body keeps the score, like Bessel van der Kolk says in his book. The body keeps the score. So, what gets in the way of loving our body, connecting with our body in a loving way? A lot of pressures, societal, how we're supposed to look like, uh, body shaming. A lot of us have experienced body shaming or have internalized that. I think there's fat phobia, being sexualized. Of course, illness and physical challenges might get in the way, body dysphoria, and changes over time in our bodies, be it through accident or operations, or changes through age, menopause, etc. Also trauma, of course. And so in Back to Sex, we really want to challenge these unrealistic standards and pressures and body shaming and create a framework where we really can celebrate our body diversity. So I see it as a journey to body love. And again, we do this in community. We heal in community. We do it at a gentle pace, so you're always encouraged in this program to take it at your pace. I'm working in a trauma-informed way, so content will be titrated, so we'll get it in small chunks. And you create doable changes. The second pillar is empowerment. So I want to empower you to really claim sexuality, eros as your birthright. You'll create your self-definition of sex, you know? I mean, sex is so many things. Sex can, but don't have to involve genitals in order to be amazing or orgasmic. Permission is part of empowerment. To challenge myths that you might have been holding for a long time about sex, and really taking charge of your pleasure. And to take action, but in small and manageable steps. So what gets in the way of feeling empowered is self-doubt, old stories, deservability, not feeling deserving, that sense of brokenness. We might get raveled up in codependent patterns in relationships. You might have unhealed attachment wounds, might be sexual trauma to attend to, a lack of boundaries, patterns of enduring. By that, I also mean, not being in self-consent, maybe not even knowing in your body, in your being, what that feels like. So a lot of things that can get in the way, and we'll point to that, we'll explore that, we put light to that. Really important part in the beginning of our work is to give yourself permission. From my side, you have fullest permission here, you know, to explore, to express, to let yourself feel. But the most important thing is that you give yourself permission. So, for instance, permission to start somewhere on this journey back to sex, anywhere, but do start. To prioritize this journey. You know, there's so many things. Life is so busy. So to really come to a place and saying, this matters, to prioritize it. Permission to step up your self-care, your self-love, and as part of that, self-pleasure. Permission to forgive yourself if that's wished and wanted. Regrets, grief, shame, guilt, and permission to let go of pressure. To really allow yourself to take this journey in your own time. Permission to meet yourself just where you are, not where you want to be, not where you have been, but allowing yourself to be here. Permission to invite playfulness. We will have fun here as well. And if that is something you can embrace and want to embrace, I put here permission to momentarily let go of the idea that sex has to be with another. So really landing back in, what does sex mean to me, you know? Next pillar is education. So I really feel that knowledge is power, and particularly when it comes to sex. Because, you know, have we had any sex ed? Sex ed that put us on our journey. I mean, I have met in this work I've been doing for many years now, so few people who really got good at sex education. So part of this course is to fill in these gaps and really get some more sex ed, learn about the nervous system, demystifying genitals, and learning more about the anatomy of arousal. You know, really getting to know ourselves and creating also space to ask, what are our desires? What are your desires? Learning about boundaries and consent. so that these are not empty concepts, but you know them in an embodied way. What gets in the way of this knowledge? Sometimes it's shame. We might say, "Oh, I should know this," but lack of resources. We sometimes don't know where to find good information. We might feel shy or embarrassed or isolated. And again, those are the things we are, opening up here in a group. So get the sex ed you never had. Beautiful clitoris, life size. So another pillar is energy. So in this course and in life, we're cultivating a sense of aliveness. And there's an encouragement to really give your dreams and visions energy. And one of the ways we do this here is with breath. I'm a trained breathwork practitioner as well, and breathwork has been so important on my healing journey and also on my journey of recovering my sense of aliveness, as well as when it came to sexuality. So the power of breath, taking charge of our needs. And I put here, we're going to work with this formula of the power of intention. So we have a desire and a vision, and then we bring an energy to it. And embodiment. So energy in the body. Breathwork is a beautiful example of that. And that brings results. My whole work has a focus on pleasure. A lot of my colleagues, we call ourselves pleasure activists, because there's really too little pleasure in when we look around, and often pleasure gets so quickly put to the side in our busy lives. But focus on pleasure also means we begin not with our blocks and obstacles and where we got stuck, but we look at where is pleasure in our lives already present. And that can, but doesn't have to be erotic sexual pleasure. Yeah. And then from this place of knowing and connecting with some pleasure, we expand our sense of pleasure. And what we want to do is expand our capacity to feel more pleasure. And that's been something that might have been really difficult, certainly been difficult in my life. And it's a lot to do with how alert our nervous system is. So in order to really experience more pleasure, we need to work with this sense of safety. So some of the tools I'm already mentioned, but what we'll be working with in this Back to Sex program. So there will be educational talks. We're going to work with breath work, and as one particular breathwork journey, but also throughout the journey, there will be different exercises around breathing that you can, play with in your lives. I'm always working with creative exercises, so free writing, stream of consciousness writing, working with prompts. We'd be working in pairs, but also in small groups and a large group of sharing from the heart. There will be somatic embodiment exercises, movement, and also working with erotic archetypes. You'll have a opportunity to be accountable, either with some buddies or in the Facebook group. And of course, we work with self-inquiry. And there will always be home play suggestions. And it's up to you to go as deep as you like and study as much as you like. So I will send you always material between sessions. Yeah, so breath work, important. And I mentioned already understanding our nervous system. So this is, we will have a session on it early on, but it's also something that's woven through the course. We begin with creating a sense of safety, because without safety, we don't go anywhere in sexuality and eros. So, and creating safety means, learning ways to resource ourselves, to feel grounded, to learn ways to self-regulate, and also what the beautiful thing we can do working in a group is to co-regulate, so with others. So yeah, we'll learn about our nervous system patterns and how they show up in sex. So patterns like fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And finding strategies to change those. Yeah, I mentioned that Back to Sex starts with creating a sense of safety, really dropping in the body. That's why I started today as well. We always begin with an exercise that helps us connect. That might be movement as well. And dropping into the body and the present moment. This is the place from where we can connect with our desires, with pleasure. It is a journey of self-inquiry. There will be exercises of deep listening to the body. So we're doing some inner body journeys. And for one session, my dear friend Sarah Applinger from Big Body Love in Austria will join us to speak on body positivity. And we'll have one session on self-pleasure and how self-pleasure connects with self-sovereignty. And again, self-pleasure is something that, again, will be something encouraged throughout the program, because it is such an important part of connecting with ourselves and our sense of eros. And self-pleasure can be so many things. Again, it doesn't have to be genitally focused. Knowing ourselves, knowing about communication, knowing about our desires. What do we want? And then there's the whole realm of fantasy. For me, this comes into the area of how do we fill our erotic well? Sometimes in life, we're very much governed by our hormones. And we might feel horny just through our hormones surging through our bodies. As that decreases in life with menopause, there might be a natural decrease of that natural sense of being turned on, being horny. And generally in life, how do we fill our erotic well? And so one area we'll explore is fantasy. How can we write from our erotic body? So I put here our sexual voice. For me, that connects very much with communication around sex. I mean, who has ever learned growing up to speak about sex, to speak about desires, about needs, to ask for what we want? So it's often a really powerful an underexplored area. This is all to do with our throat chakra. Maybe we've been told not to speak about it. So there's a real encouragement here to, learn to speak about sex, to be explicit, if we like. We will talk about the big O. It's not one of those huge areas, but orgasm is such an area often both of pleasure but also of questioning. Um, you know, I celebrate, and with Back to Sex, we celebrate all orgasms, whether they're pre orgasms or orgasmic states. And first of all pleasure is valid. But again, around orgasm, there's a big piece about education. There's a lot we can learn what supports our orgasmic potential. Yeah. And energy, already mentioned. So, in that realm there of orgasm, what is orgasmic energy? And how can we cultivate it? Another area we'll work with is the senses, because everything we experience in life, we really experience for our body, but through our senses. Yeah. And when it comes to sensuality and sexuality, to work with our senses is really powerful and juicy. And we might have access to different senses in a different way. Some of us might be very visual, some might be very tactile, or smell might be really important. So um, we'll be exploring that in a session as well as ongoing. As I said, knowledge is power. So we'll look at the area of genitals as well. It's something that's really dear to my heart as well, because there's been so much genital shame about, and I have known that in my life. And so, again, that's an area that's beautiful to explore in a group, because shame can't survive being embraced and talked about. So, and also it's a place to celebrate, our differences and the pleasure and joy genitals can bring. I always say Eros loves play. So, all through the course, and in particular, one session when we work with erotic archetype, playfulness is really invited, because when we're in a mode of playfulness, suddenly, energy can flow. We're a little less self conscious. We're tapping into something else. So, to explore erotic archetypes such as the seductress, the queen, goddess figure, and they don't have to be gendered. It can be the king, it can be um, Don Juan, any erotic archetypes can be a really juicy way, again, to connect with Eros and our very unique expression of our sexuality. Well, attend to the wild soul. What does that mean? Our more animal nature. How can we express ourselves? And sometimes we go through big changes in life. I don't even know anymore. What clothes do I feel like? Do I feel sexy in? Do I like makeup or not? What is my expression of Eros now? So I really like to invite you to use this course as a place to explore these things. Same this question, what is your sexual creature? We might have different parts in us, even animals. I connect with this sense of my inner wolf, and bring that out. So I always felt there's a strong connection between creativity and sex. So, yeah, and throughout the course, we will explore that. Now, of course, when it comes to sex and challenges and obstacles we have faced, there will be times when we need to release, when we need to let go, when we need to shed what no longer serves us. And we can do that in different ways, and we can do that in embodied ways. So, one way of it is, for instance, the breathwork journey has inbuilt a way of where you can consciously release. Again, that can be an ongoing journey as we go along in these 12 weeks, shedding what no longer serves. And of course, also transforming any resistance that there is. For me, the gorgeous thing about one of the things about this course is that you get to decide and become really clear what sex is for you, what you want it to be at this moment in time. And of course, that's fluid and it can change. So, sex can be so many different things. I just put a few here. Sex can be touch, it can be playing with breath, it can be sensation play, it can involve toys or penetration, or can be just energy play. Sex can be really intense eye gazing, be involving talking dirty, be anal play, energy, making out, can be kink, can be just holding hands and really feeling, working with sexual erotic energy, be kissing. So you create your own, your image will look very different. So let's take a moment, and I would love you to grab your notebooks if you want to play with me. And I put a question here, and I'm going to give you maybe 5 minutes or 6 minutes to free flow write. To By that I mean put your pen on the page and really let yourself just follow it. Journal to this question: if there were no obstacles whatsoever, no obstacles, what would your sex life look like and feel like? So it's an invitation to really drop into that vision. If there were no obstacles whatsoever, what would your sex life look like and feel like? Okay. So I'm going to put on the timer and let you know. So enjoy. Then I'll call you back, and then there will be a second part to that exercise. Take another minute to complete. Then I invite you to, for a moment, look over your writing and see if there is a phrase or a sentence or just a word that really speaks to you, that really has power, maybe touched you. And if you find it, just circle it and write it on a separate page. Beautiful. In a moment, I'm gonna play one song. And so the invitation now is to, can you take this phrase or sentence or word into the movement? Let that be the beginning part, the opening, the starting point, and really let yourself just be moved by the music. So just one song, and then I'll give you another 2 minutes to write after. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy.
You were running blind, following your feet to try and outrun your fate. Standing in a field of flowers, cerebral voices the loudest, all hollering your name. Is it paradise? Only if it blows your mind and then blows away.
Sometimes you will, sometimes you deal, sometimes you have to rob and steal.
Call you a cinnamon, or call it second sight. Now they treat them all the same, and it's the thinnest line they hung you out by. You were holding my hands and say, hey, what if I only ever took what's mine? I wanted to tell them that if I could've led a different life, could've led a different life. But now I need somebody who could ease my mind, need somebody who could ease my mind. You know I could've led a different life, could've led a different life. Pulling me aside, giving me your last advice, and the whole house shakes, saying keep it in the family hide. Don't make the mistakes that I did, 'cause it'll weigh your soul away. And I would have tried if only it was black or white, but it's bullet gray.
Sometimes you will, sometimes you deal, sometimes you have to rob and steal.
Call you a cinnamon, call it second sight. Now they treat them all the same. It's the thinnest line to hang you by. Holding my hands and saying, you know I only ever took what's mine. I wanted to tell them that if I could've led a different life, could've led a different life. But now I need somebody who could ease my mind, need somebody who could ease my mind. You know I need the remedy to cure my face, need the value to sleep at night. to kill my vice. Need somebody who can ease my mind.
And so one more time, come back to your notebooks. Take a minute or so to write from that. So yeah, I hope you found that interesting. Um, Also, as an example, how we work creatively here, as well as really dropping into the body. So, yeah, just to recap a few things, self pleasure is a really important core, the work, moving the body. As we move stuck energy, get into the erotic flow and fill our erotic well. Maybe you got a little inkling of that. Breath work, we bring aliveness. It supports us to dissolve blocks and connect us with Eros. We explore pleasure through the senses. So, all in all, we'll build this embodied confidence. And as we embrace the uniqueness of our bodies, we do develop this confidence also in our unique expression of Eros. It's really dear to me. We all have such a unique expression of it. Another thing that I love about this work is that actually, when we make some changes, simple exercises, a little goes a long way. So if we take more breath, if we give more space to play, all of that adds up. Also, to say we can adapt any exercises here. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, this happens in community. So one of the things, I have felt very isolated on this journey when I began it. And so it's a real passion of mine, hence to do this in community, in a group, because we can counter isolation here and fear. It busts shame, and we can learn from one another. Community really fosters camaraderie and solidarity. So, to talk a little bit more concrete about the course, you might have looked at it already, but it includes 12 two-hour live sessions. And there will be exercises and teachings, sharing in a group of 10 maximum. You will get recordings of each session and exercises. Everything will be uploaded on a platform called Teachable. What's very special about this course is that you do get 2 sessions with me. So it's super generous. So you will have, the whole group context, but then you'll have 2 hour sessions with me, and you can take that anytime. It might serve you to have one at the beginning, one at the end, or when a particular issue comes up for you. So it will really help you deepen the work. There will be always suggestions for homework or home play, as I call it. You'll get lots of course material, a beautiful guidebook and a workbook with lots of prompts and information. And you will not get this in one go. So I'll send this to you week by week. So it can be done. You can digest it more, and you don't. Some people don't look a lot at the material, but you'll have it for life. Yeah, you can download all of it. You'll have access to a private Facebook group, so it's just us. throughout the course. And also we can set up accountability buddies, a small group. So it's a really, you'll be really solidly held so that you can, really explore as deeply as you like. The course fee is 888 and includes the 12 sessions, includes everything, including the 2 sessions with me. If you decide today until tomorrow to come on the course, you can pay 808. I'll give you a good chunk off if you make that decision until tomorrow. I have a link on the payment link leads you there, and there will be tonight an opportunity to pay 808. You can pay just a deposit. If you pay that today, I will still honor the 808 and we can set up a payment plan for the rest of that. If that's wished and needed. And so I really, if this work's important to you and you feel called, I would love to have you in the course. It's a beautiful group is coming together. And we have still some spaces. So, beautiful. So I'm going to stop recording.